In this example, we'll be using practice exercise 11.5a that can be found in your textbook on page 519. We are going to be journalizing the payroll tax entry. Please note that this is a continuation of the previous video example where we journalized the entry for payroll. For every time we run payroll, we need to have two journal entries. One to record for the payroll side, meaning what are we paying our employees and how much are we withholding from their paychecks. And we have to have a second journal entry to record the payroll tax that the employer has to pay because they have employees. They tell us that our company indicates $13,200 of Social Security that was withheld and $3,300 of Medicare tax withheld on total salaries of $220,000 for the period. Earnings of $35,000 are subject to state and federal unemployment compensation taxes at a federal rate of 0.8% and a state rate of 5.4%. Again, these are taxes that the employer must pay because they have, in fact, employees. So our debit is going to be to payroll tax expense. We are not going to fill that number in until the end, as it's just going to be the sum of all of our payroll taxes. The employer is required to match both Social Security and Medicare that's withheld from their employees' paychecks. They also have to pay FUTA and SUTA, known as Federal Unemployment Compensation Tax and State Unemployment Compensation Tax. Please note that this employer does not have to pay federal income taxes. So we are going to match the Social Security tax that was withheld from the employee's paychecks of $13,200. We are also going to match the Medicare tax that was withheld from our employees' paychecks of $3,300. So for example, at the end of this month, we would send a check for $6,600 to the Medicare tax department. We, as the employer, are required to pay federal unemployment tax and state unemployment tax. In the problem, they tell us that only $35,000 of the gross earnings are subject to both federal and state unemployment taxes. So for the federal unemployment tax, we would take the $35,000 that is subject to that tax and multiply it by the rate. Please note, for the federal unemployment tax, the rate is 0.8%. So in your calculator, you'd enter it as 0.008. So this employer will have to pay $280 to the federal unemployment tax department. For the state unemployment tax, again, $35,000 is subject to this tax, and the rate, they tell us in the problem, is 5.4%. Which means that we pay $1,890 to the state unemployment tax department. We now have to calculate our total amount of payroll tax expense, which is just the sum of what we're paying to the Social Security tax department, the Medicare tax, the federal unemployment, and the state unemployment. So in total, we are paying $18,670. Please recognize that again, in practice exercise 11.5a, we are not paying again the federal income taxes, nor are we again paying our employees. That is handled in our first payroll entry.